Hey there, pirates. Welcome aboard the Anime No Me channel. If there's one thing I can't get out of my head, it's the intentional gap Oda left in silence when it comes to Roger's sword. The man was the only pirate king in history, had a direct clash with Whitebeard, fought Garp dozens of times, had duels with Roxy Zebek, and even so, hardly anyone mentions his sword. And when it does appear, it's only briefly. Ace, a short, simple name, almost too poetic for a man who shook the entire world. I don't think that's a coincidence. Oda is hiding something there. There's a whole idea hidden behind that silence. And maybe, just maybe, the only one who can still reveal it is the very person who vanished with the end of the Golden Era, Scopper Gaban. I hope for your support to help our crew win, and to do so, you just need to click the thumbs up button, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel. By doing this, you will win an incredible devil fruit, so just comment which fruit you want. We only saw Scopper Gaban clearly once, when Odin's flashback showed Roger's crew in action. He was always next to Rayleigh, quiet but alert, the kind of character who seems like he was saved to appear at the right time, and not before. And I think that time is coming. Not because he's just another of Roger's old crewmates, but because maybe, just maybe, he's the final guardian of something even Rayleigh chose not to carry. The King's Sword. Because if we stop to think about it, legendary swords in One Piece are never just aesthetic. They carry stories. Enma bears the weight of an entire destroyed kingdom and was passed down to Zoro as a direct inheritance. Yoru is the blade of solitude and cold pride, and Mihawk wields it because he is that. Shusui, when given to Zoro, came with the recognition of a whole people, and Nidai Kitetsu, which Luffy picked up just for fun, immediately responded with a presence even Tengoyama didn't seem to expect. In other words, swords have will, they have destiny. And Roger's ace would be no different. The name alone says a lot, Ace. And that's where I think Oda started to weave a symbolic connection. Because Roger's son is also named Ace. The sword has the same name. Maybe, just maybe, the sword was named that later, or even earlier, and the son's name was a tribute to what the sword represented, a flame that passes through generations. And what's even more curious is that Luffy, without knowing it, also carries that name. In his fists, in his soul, in the scream he let out at Marineford when he lost him. And that's why I think Roger's sword, Ace, will be passed on to Luffy. Because it doesn't make sense for it to remain lost while the heir of Rogers will walks the world wearing the hat and holding the fruit that became legend. But why Scopper Gaban? The answer might lie in the way he disappeared. He didn't reappear with Rayleigh and Sabaody, didn't attend Ace's funeral, didn't get involved in the chaos of the Marineford War, and even after that, during the whole time skip, we didn't even catch a glimpse of him. That tells me he's on a mission, in waiting, maybe, just maybe, guarding something that can't fall into the wrong hands. Something that can only be handed over when the time is right, and that time won't be determined by strength, but by presence, by feeling, by the same sparkle Roger had in his eyes when he stopped searching for power and began seeking answers. And if there's anyone who carries that sparkle now, it's Luffy. He's the only one who can unite people who don't even get along. He made Crocodile help it impel down, made Law become an ally without even asking, made Yamato look at him and see a new Odin, and now he sails with a crew that reflects everything Roger believed in, not in name, but in essence. Usopp's faith, Nami's heart, Robin's pride, Brook's music, Zoro's honor, Chopper's sweetness. All of that is what made Roger's ship a home, not a weapon. So I think Gaban is waiting for that. For the moment when the new king is not just strong, but complete. And that's when the sword comes back. Maybe kept on some forgotten island. Maybe surrounded by a hockey barrier that only someone with Conqueror's presence can pass through. Maybe handed over simply in a quiet moment. Like when Rayleigh just looked at Luffy and knew he didn't need more instruction. I think Gaban will look at Luffy, see the same spirit he once saw in Roger, and hand it over. No ceremony, no big explanation. Just saying something like, Roger wanted it to find the right person. I think the time has come. And the most beautiful thing? Luffy might not even use it, because Luffy is not a swordsman. And maybe Roger's sword doesn't even need to be used. Maybe its true purpose isn't to cut, but to symbolize. Just like the straw hat, just like the smile, just like the laughter at the end of the world. It could be the final proof that Roger existed, and that his will carried on. Not in another pirate, but in someone who chose to follow the same path for completely different reasons. And that brings me back to something that's haunted my mind for a long time. We've never actually seen Roger use the sword in battle. We've only seen him holding it. It's always there, an extension of his presence, but never the focus. Maybe because Roger's true power wasn't in the blade, but in his spirit. And Luffy is exactly that, a fighter who never relied on any weapon, who turns even rubber into enough strength to shake the world. And still, I believe the sword will come to him, not to be wielded, but so the world sees that it chose him. And when that happens, maybe the whole world will start to move again. Because legends resurface when forgotten symbols are recovered. The Gorosei, who probably know exactly what that sword means, might try to intercept. They might send the God Knights or even Saturn himself, who saw firsthand what Roger once did. And when they see that sword again in the hands of the boy who smiles, even as everything collapses, they might realize the cycle is about to close and that the silence of centuries will have to be broken. But until that happens, there's still a path to walk. Luffy still needs to meet someone who knew Roger personally. Someone who saw up close what that sword could do and who knows where it is now. Someone like Shanks, maybe, or even Gaban himself, who might have been waiting years for this reunion. And when it happens, it won't come with explosions. It will come with a look. That kind of recognition that doesn't need words. Because the sword isn't just metal, it's a promise. It's the past. And now, maybe, just maybe, it's ready to become the future. If there's one thing Oda might masterfully do, it's hiding the obvious behind simplicity. And I think that's exactly why Roger's sword ace was never given much attention. It's not just a forgotten blade, nor a decorative item from a legendary past. Maybe, and here lies the power of what I feel. It's the final link between what Roger believed in and what Luffy is about to do. Because if there's a thread that connects everything the world fears, it's will. An ace, as a symbol, might just be the anchor of it all. When we think about powerful weapons in One Piece, the focus usually goes to the technical side. Devil fruits that can destroy continents, ancient weapons capable of changing the seas, legends hidden at the center of the world. But this sword might not fit into any of those categories. Maybe its power comes from its symbolic weight, from representing something the world no longer wants to see, a king who doesn't bow. And that's why I think Gaban kept it hidden in silence. Because unlike Rayleigh, who remained as an advisor, or Shanks, who became an emperor, Gaban may have chosen to disappear in order to protect something that couldn't be revealed too early. And now, with Luffy being recognized as one of the Yonko, with his bounty practically screaming to the world that he's the next pirate king, and with the awakening of his fruit revealing that his power is directly tied to freedom and joy, maybe, just maybe, this is the moment when Gaban will reappear. And he won't show up out of nostalgia or duty. He'll appear because it's time for the handover. Not just a physical one, but a transition of eras, a passing of responsibility. Because Ace, unlike Enma or Shusui, may have never had a thirst for blood. Maybe it was a sword that reflected exactly who Roger was. Someone who laughed in the face of chaos, who challenged without aggression, who understood power but preferred the path of mystery. And that's why it vanished. Because the world today, with its desperate governments and carefully crafted narratives, might not be ready to see this blade shine again. And that's why I believe Gaban waited. Maybe in Elbaf, maybe on some island where time seems to stand still. Maybe even in East Blue, watching from afar. And there's a detail I can't get out of my head. The sword being named Ace can't be a random coincidence. Oda doesn't waste names like that. And the fact that Luffy's brother had that name, that he went ahead and opened the way with his own sacrifice, might be the final push Luffy needs to accept the sword without hesitation. Because if it were earlier, he might have refused, might have said he didn't need it. But now, after everything he's been through, he might understand that Ace isn't just a sword. It's a tribute, a reminder, and more than anything, an echo of what he lost. And that's where the real impact of this handover comes in, because it won't turn Luffy into a swordsman. That was never who he is. But maybe, just maybe, it'll show the world that the king has returned, that the lost symbol has now been restored, the allies will understand, the rivals will tremble, the enemies, especially the older ones, those who lived during Roger's era, will remember. And this could become a crucial piece on the board, because when Shanks sees that sword again, he might realize that the moment he was waiting for has finally come. And when the Gorosei find out, they might gather to decide what to do in the face of the impossible, because they know what that sword represents. And more, if the sword carries a secret, like a hidden inscription, a voice message like the poneglyphs, or even a reaction to Conqueror's haki, then its handover could trigger more than memories. It could trigger a response, a clue, a direction, because Roger was that kind of man. He knew he couldn't change the world with his own hands, so he planted clues, left behind heirs, seeds, and maybe, just maybe, the sword is one of those seeds. But what about Gaban? Where does he fit in after that? I don't think his role ends with the handover. Maybe he's one of the last people who truly knows what happened on Laugh Tale. Maybe he holds memories even Rayleigh didn't want to reveal. Maybe he kept silent because he believed the world wasn't ready to hear them yet. But with Luffy ready, the world in chaos and the de-stirring, maybe he knows the time has come. And maybe after the handover, he'll decide to follow Luffy as the last guardian of Roger's memory. Or maybe not. Maybe he'll disappear again, relieved that he's fulfilled his mission. But one thing I believe, his presence will have as much impact as the message he brings. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.